Lee determined to attack on that third day. He wanted Longstreet to attack early. Again, he wanted Longstreet's attack to coincide with Ewell's attack on the Union right, the Confederate left. Ewell's attack was to be a diversionary attack to keep Meade from reinforcing his center. And indeed, the first thing that Meade did on the third day of July, in anticipation of Lee winning his attack, was to move some troops over onto his left flank where Longstreet had attacked before, believing that Lee would attack and would attack again on the flanks. So Meade, in some ways, cooperated with Lee by drawing troops from the center and strengthening his flanks instead of strengthening the center. Lee wanted Ewell's and Longstreet's attack to be very, very close to each other. Again, however, Longstreet was late and slow. He was so because a crucial division, Pickett's division, was new to this battle. Pickett's division had only just arrived in the vicinity.
Pickett's division does not make up the whole of the actual charge. There are 3 brigades, and there's really 11 brigades in total. But Pickett's division will make up they'll spearhead it. He'll direct the troops. And it includes North Carolinian men, the other brigades, and units from other divisions. Some of these men had fought the 2 days before and were exhausted.
Ewell attacked too early again. His attack did not coincide with Longstreet. And once again, his troops were able to force their way up the slopes of Culp's Hill, up the slopes of Cemetery Hill, without taking those positions. But this was not really Ewell's task. He was there primarily to occupy Union forces so they could not be available to resist the crusher which was supposed to hit their center.
The charge was going to begin after an artillery barrage on the Union lines, led by Longstreet's head of artillery, E.P. Alexander. About 159 guns were going to open up on the Union center and hopefully weaken the Union lines enough so the charge could succeed. And the artillery barrage begins about 1 o'clock, July 3rd.
It was a dramatic moment when practically every piece of artillery in Lee's army opened on the very center of Meade's line across Cemetery Ridge. Those who were there described it as a continuous sheet of noise. It was the largest artillery barrage that had occurred in the war to that time. Union guns answered from Little Round Top and from Cemetery Ridge.
By 1:30, an exchange of correspondence occurs between Longstreet and Alexander, which is kind of interesting. Longstreet did not feel confident at all about Gettysburg. He had been dragging his feet through the entire battle, and he felt this charge was doomed. And he had already expressed his concerns to Lee, and Lee refused to change. So Longstreet and Pickett was a very close friend of Longstreet's. They had served together in the Mexican War, and they almost had it like a father and son relationship. Longstreet seemed to take special time out to make sure Pickett understood things, just seemed to have a special bond with Pickett. And so he was very much worried and just felt that this was going to fail. So he tells Alexander that only if he sees a weakening in the Union line should Alexander signal the charge to begin. And Alexander writes back, or sends a courier back to Longstreet, and says essentially, if there's any chance that if there's any other plan, let's not do this, because Alexander too sees this as somewhat futile. The men were going to charge across about just under a mile, and it was open field, and everyone knew that there would be huge casualties. So Longstreet sends back another courier and says, "There's no other plan. This has got to happen, and as soon as you see a moment, any sign of weakness, we'll get Pickett ready and start the charge."